Overtime Hockey Talk. My name is Mark Paul, and joining me in studio, more than one person for the first time ever on Overtime Hockey Talk, Justin Baker. Oh, as always.
As always.
And Luke Paul.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
My former younger brother.
Former. Pretty much the sexiest of your younger brothers.
And Derek Giordano.
Hello.
Derek
Giordano. Just go with that.
Derek Giordano. It's Mark Giordano's older brother. Wiser, much wiser than him. No, we have a crew in the studio, as today is my bachelor party. So we're gonna have to, we don't have to get into it.
Yes, we do.
We'll get it.
Yeah, we could get into it.
We could get into it. Sure,
we're gonna get into it.
Yeah, absolutely, we will. This is a great opportunity to promote the other podcasts that I have already begun recorded episodes for, but I haven't released them yet. For a new podcast called Marksplaining. So,
Marksplaining.
Yes. If you, if you're a feminist, you might hate me now because I'm, of course, making fun of mansplaining. But Marksplaining, we just talk about things.
I thought he just took Mark and explaining, and that's how he came up. Not a feminist.
But you've heard of mansplaining, right?
No,
it's not like it's not anti-feminist or anything. It just is. I just was like, oh, mansplaining. I could take my own name and throw it in there. So it's Marksplaining.
I've heard of manscaping, but not mansplaining.
That's true. I could have called it Markscaping.
What's manscaping?
That's
where you take care of your face and trim up and moisturize.
I thought it was more than
put
that.
A racing strip on your pubes.
I believe they call that a runway now. So
on the show today, keep an eye out for Marksplaining coming out as we do a bachelor party episode for Marksplaining tonight. We are recording this on Saturday, April the 6th, and at this point, Boston and Tampa Bay are playing right now, but none of the games have actually happened at this point, but lots of playoff races to talk about. We do know some of them, so we're going to preview the ones we know, and then our next show before the playoffs start, we'll preview the rest of them, since it does take some time to go through all the series, so best to get things started today. But before we do that, we want to talk about something near and dear to my heart, and that is all my girlfriends. My girlfriend teams, that is.
Thank you for explaining that.
My
in
girlfriend
light of
teams,
his bachelor party, really.
Yes. So if you're unfamiliar with girlfriend teams, of course we all have a wife. We've most of us at least have chosen to latch down to a particular unit and stick with them for life. Unless things go real bad, we're sticking with that team. And by real bad, I mean like, oh, here we are in Winnipeg, and now all of a sudden we're the Phoenix Coyotes. And I'm allowed to say Phoenix Coyotes because that's who they became.
That's true.
But so I mean, you have your wife team. My team's Toronto. Justin, yours is Detroit. Luke's is also Toronto, I think.
Yes. Yeah. It's Toronto for sure.
And but then, of course, you have the teams that maybe you have an affinity towards every year. You've got those like every year I'm going to always kind of cheer for the Western Canadian teams because I don't know. I just have a special place in my heart for them. I was when Vancouver was good, I was always watching their games, and I would stay up late to watch just regular season games. And I always was cheering for Calgary and for Edmonton, and so I have something for them. But then every year, you kind of usually find that one team that just for that 1 year sparks your interest, and you root for them. And so, Justin, unfortunately, your wife is, about to go on a 4-month vacation without you.
Yeah.
And so that leaves you to, be satisfied by your girlfriend teams.
She'll never satisfy like my wife does, but
that's true.
She'll come close.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's temporary relief from the stresses of hockey. So with that said, I want to dive into your picks for your girlfriend teams for the playoffs. I mean, we know all the playoff teams are set, so we can throw those around. And I even think, even though Toronto's in the East, I think that I can have an Eastern Conference girlfriend team and it be okay. And then, if they play in the conference finals, well, it's not like I'm telling my wife about the girlfriend. Right. So we'll just pretend that it never happened.
But if you're saying that your wife satisfies you more than your girlfriend, are you actually cheering for your girlfriend in the finals?
Well, I mean, she's not there every single night. There's lots of games on.
Just making sure.
This is terrible.
This is getting off the rails.
Just so
real
you,
quick.
I was having this conversation with a guy in doing my physical therapy, and I asked him, like, who's your girlfriend team? And he said, what's that? And I explained to him, well, sometimes you've got your wife, but then you also need a girlfriend. And this girl heard me and was like, what are you talking about? It's like, relax. It's just sports. I don't subscribe to this advice for real life.
Oh my gosh. It's like the time when I tried to explain to my sisters, my dad, single guy, he dates a lot of women. I'll just put it plain and simple, okay? And then I made the analogy about my dad has a batting order when it comes to girlfriends. My sisters lost it when they found out. They're like, that means what? And I'm like, yeah, he's got his first at bat and second, and the girl that hits cleanup for him. And
oh yeah, if we're talking real life, I've heard I can't remember what radio host it was. Some guy who it was funny to me, and then eventually I felt so dirty listening to this guy because he would talk about he was married like 6 times, and he would talk about how he had a pitching rotation. So he had his 5 pitchers who were in there, and they were his regulars. And then he had some relief pitchers. And if one of those crapped out on him, he'd call his closer. And occasionally you needed to bring one up from the minors.
Oh my gosh. No.
Not like a minor,
right,
but like
gosh.
you need to replace your starter. They're getting old, or they're broken
AAA.
down. They're broken down, and so you pull them up from the minors.
Because I feel like we need to move on.
I didn't say you pull a minor up from the minors.
Oh,
okay,
goodness.
so girlfriend team number 1. Let's go Western Conference because it's a little easier for all of us to have a girlfriend team out there.
yeah, when the Red Wings aren't in it, I always love to have at least one girlfriend who is an quote unquote underdog type of team. Somebody who you root for, and they, like, I think a few years ago it was Nashville because they weren't really, they were expected to compete, but then they go all the way to the
Right, when they swept Colorado.
Right. For me this year, though, it's got to be St. Louis. Because I love a good goaltending story, and Binghamton goes in there, and if he can take them far in the playoffs, that would be phenomenal.
Would you call them an underdog team though?
I would.
Because I feel like they've been rolling lately, right?
Well,
and they're almost at the top of their division.
Well, that they were on January 1st, they were last place in the league.
Yes.
In the league. And now if they win tonight and things go right for them in other games, they win the toughest conference in the NHL.
dude, yeah. They're hot right now, but when it comes down to it, right, everybody I hear, they're always like, oh, Winnipeg's built for the playoffs, and still Nashville and Winnipeg are still going to be favorites regardless what seed they fall into in terms of, whether or not St. Louis actually wins the Central or not. I still think people are going to consider St. Louis an underdog when you look at the other couple teams in the Central.
I would be nervous to play St. Louis going to the first round.
I'm not.
No,
I'm not scared to play St. Louis.
Wow, it's poorly. Say you're Winnipeg, right? And you got to play them first round.
That's fine.
Okay.
I mean, who cares? You might have to play Nashville first round. And honestly, I'm not that worried about playing Nashville first round. I'm worried about Pecorine. But I'm not. I mean, Nashville's power play. I can take as many freaking power plays as I want, or penalties as I want. Nashville's not going to score.
It is pretty bad.
They're barely 10% on the power play. They're like almost historically bad. And so I'm not worried about them. I mean, it's funny. I just said that it was the best division in hockey, which it may be the deepest, but in terms of the absolute high end, I'm more afraid of San Jose than I am of Nashville.
I don't know.
Honestly.
I don't know.
But it's just the opposite. I'm more afraid of their forwards and their defense. But when it comes to the goaltending, San Jose is struggling there. So
it's
take
bad.
your pick. Neither one of those teams are my girlfriend teams.
Okay.
In the West.
That's fair.
Luke, who are you?
I really like Vegas right now. They've just been doing a lot of good things moving forward and carrying this team back to kind of where they were last year at the end of the season. For a while they were struggling, but I think they got their mojo back, and I think they can do some damage in the playoffs for sure.
Well, Justin thinks they're the best team in the West.
I do. I think right now they're my favorite to come out of the West. They are the sexy pick, that is for sure. And I applaud your effort to pick Vegas. It was good.
Calgary is so underrated coming in. I'll say they're not the underdog, but they are the overlooked, underrated team in these playoffs.
They're like Vegas last year. I think they're the team that people should take more serious than they probably are right now.
They have 50
But they just keep
ROW.
ignoring it.
They do.
Yeah, they have 50 regulation overtime wins. No, the next highest in the Western Conference is 45. That's San Jose, and I mean Tampa Bay, of course, has 55, but nobody has really close to 50. And they've played absolutely phenomenal all year too. Really, they've been in first place. The first month of the season, and they've held on to it, and that's a rare thing to do. I remember San Jose kind of crept up there for a second. They topped them, and then Calgary just turned it on, and it was gone. Like there was only one time where San Jose really took that first place mantle from them, and they didn't last for very long. So to me, anytime you see a team that they sit at the top and they're at the top the whole time, they're doing something right all year long. This team is just ready, I think.
But the thing, I think going into the playoffs, they have to have good goaltending because there have been games where what was that 9-6 game that they were playing? I forget who it was, but
Chicago.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But yeah, I mean they need good goaltending, and sometimes Richie and Smith, haven't been doing great. And I think you said maybe a couple episodes ago, you think that they're going to put Smith in there.
Yeah, and it does sound like they're going to put Smith in there. To me, Smith is the smart choice, but I think Rittich is probably the better choice. Smith is the safe pick because obviously he's taken Arizona deep in the playoffs before. He has the experience. Rittich is zero experience there, so as a coach, you feel safer putting Smith in. Now, I think like a lot of goaltending tandems here, like for example, out in the island, I think there's going to be short leashes on a lot of these guys. So if Smith struggles game one, I wouldn't surprise me if Rittich goes in for game two.
For all the talk about them having rough goaltending, I mean, there's only 3 teams in the West with less goals against than them that are in the playoffs right now.
They got a good D in front of them too.
Which
is
exactly
very important.
That's true. Yeah.
So to me, Calgary is almost in this sweet spot where they've got certain veteran players like a Giordano and all these players are starting to come into their prime. Giordano maybe age-wise isn't in his prime. He's a little older, but he's having the best season of his life. So all these things seem to be piecing together right at the perfect time. Yeah, this team doesn't have tons of experience winning a bunch of rounds, but I think that they do have experience playing the game. This isn't like an upstart, wow, this team is way ahead of the curve here. It's almost like they've been behind the curve and they've finally arrived. Like we thought that they would be pretty darn good last year. They have almost the same defense, but now all of a sudden they have one of the best defenses in the league, whereas last year they were awful.
Was Dougie Hamilton the problem?
Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah, and it was Brody not playing with Giordano, and so then they put him back together, and away you go. But Calgary's my girlfriend team. I'm going Calgary and I'm going Winnipeg. I'm going to cheer for the 2 Canadian teams. I hope they play each other in the conference finals. That would be a good conference final. And then, of course I'm going Toronto in the East. So we just need to see a Toronto, Calgary / Winnipeg final, and we'll finally get 1993 out of our minds again. Canadian team minds. Finally winning the cup.
So a question for you. Being a Leafs fan, I want to ask you, Mark, as a Leafs fan as well. Do you feel like you saying Toronto is going to the Eastern Conference Finals, or let's say they just go to the Eastern Conference Finals, do you feel like you're just trying to patch a horrible marriage job? I mean, they've been going down.
A horrible marriage counseling is what you're suggesting.
It's his wife.
So are you saying, like, do I have a false sense of how good or bad this team might be?
Yeah.
For the Leafs? I think that for a really long time, they've known they're going to play the Bruins. So it's been months.
To Mark's defense, though, regardless, if the Red Wings, for instance, is the team they've got together, if they somehow squeaked in a wild card spot, even though my brain says they're going to get swept or they're going to be out in 5 or 6, my heart would be like, I want them to go to the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
Well, yeah,
I didn't say I thought they would. I said my ideal is the Leafs and then Calgary or Winnipeg in the finals. That's
okay.
my.
All right.
Always support your wife. Always support your wife.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, now, okay, we can switch over to the Eastern Conference. I mean, Luke and I naturally we have our team in the Eastern Conference. Justin, you've got a blank slate. Where are you leaning for this the first half of the tournament here?
The first half, wow. So you guys, this almost seems like a bandwagon pick, but I'll explain why. Tampa Bay is my girlfriend team of the East, because growing up, Detroit was in the Western Conference, and I needed a team in the East to cheer for. I always loved that because I would pick my two teams and say, okay, these are the two teams I think are always going to make it to the Stanley Cup Finals, would be great. And I have family that lives in Tampa. I went down there all the time. So to me, it was just, I want Tampa Bay to win. And of course, they won in 2004, and that was fantastic. I was loving it. And I love Martin St. Louis. So that was, for me, my girlfriend team growing up. And so it makes it a little bit easier now to like them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a natural. And plus, Steve Yzerman connection there for so long.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's a fair thing. I mean, if I knew that the Leafs wouldn't see Tampa in the second round if the Leafs win, I wouldn't have a problem saying Tampa. I think I really want Columbus to play Tampa, because that would be a hell of a first round. I mean,
I want Columbus and Washington, just because I want to see that rematch. Although I see your point.
Rematch is fine, but
Tampa's going to give, or Columbus is going to give Tampa more, more entertaining.
I think they could.
I
think they could beat them. I don't think Carolina can beat them. I think that they'd be toast.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Or if somehow.
So that means Columbus actually has to stay. They have to lose tonight to play Tampa.
Yes, or Carolina wins. So Carolina plays Philly. Yeah. So right. I mean, really, we do have the potential of a Pittsburgh loss and a Carolina win, which would make it so that Pittsburgh plays Washington in round 1.
See, now I would rather have that than a Columbus-Washington rematch.
I would like to see a Washington-Pittsburgh first round. And then you randomly have Carolina. No, but see, Carolina and New York Islanders in the first round. I don't really care about either of those teams.
No, but that to me would help solidify my argument that I hate the current playoff format. So if the NHL sees that, they're like, crap, we had this throwaway first round matchup that somebody's going to advance, and then a very good team
But how much of a throwaway is it? I mean, it's not like Carolina's going to, if that happens, they finish further ahead than Pittsburgh.
No,
so
from a marketing standpoint, I guess is what I'm saying. Just
certain teams played better than others.
Of course not.
I mean, if we just went purely off the conference, and let's say there was 2 divisions, so obviously the top 2 teams in each division get a spot. That puts Tampa Bay, Washington 1, 2, and then you would have Boston at the 3. Boston would play Pittsburgh right now, and then the Islanders would be the 4, and they would play Toronto. And then you would have Washington playing Carolina, and Tampa would play Columbus. So it wouldn't be that much different. I mean, you just happen to have Pittsburgh playing. What did I say? Pittsburgh would play
playing
Boston.
Yeah.
So I mean, but either way, but even then, you're going, wow, Pittsburgh has to play Boston in the first round. Even then, we're still like upset that we're going to see a good team eliminated. That's the thing, though, is that there's so many good teams now, because good is no longer 2002 Red Wings. Like, that team was unbelievable. You just cut yourself.
I think I did. Yeah.
There are no unbelievable teams in the league anymore. Other than Tampa. Tampa Bay is unbelievable. But this is a rare year. They have 61 wins. They might tie the record for most wins if they win tonight. But to me, this is just whatever format you have, there's always going to be problems with it. So who cares? The only thing that would make it better is if there was some sort of play-in game and you had maybe 9 and 10 could play in with 7, 8, and you could have something interesting there. But then what? Everybody freaking makes the playoffs?
I don't love the play-in game. I think that just takes away from the first, or the teams that get into the first 8 after 82 games.
I mean, this year you look at it and you go, do I really want to see Carolina play Florida and Columbus play Montreal? No. Not really. No.
That's a useless game, honestly.
So Luke, if you have to pick a team outside of Toronto, where are you leaning for
I'm leaning for Pittsburgh.
A gal pal.
Pittsburgh. I mean, Sidney Crosby has just been unbelievable.
Just leave right now. I don't want you in this room.
I would. My natural bent is to always just go Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
because I love watching Sidney Crosby play, and he really comes into his own in the playoffs. He's always fantastic, and so and Pittsburgh, a lot of times, a lot of teams stifle in the playoffs, and the games are 1-0, 2-1, 3-2. Pittsburgh, it's like 5-4, 6-5, 7-6. I mean, we see some pretty high scoring games when it comes to the Penguins, especially in that first round. So it'll be interesting though to see how they play against the Islanders, who haven't even allowed. It looks like they won't even allow 200 goals this year, which is quite an impressive number. Any other girlfriend teams out there? You want to throw another one? You want? I mean, you can go both divisions.
Carolina would be great. I love what they're doing, and just to see the celebrations afterwards.
Well, they're not going to do them, are they?
I don't know.
I think they said they wouldn't do them.
No.
Well, they
stopped
said
doing them.
They said they wouldn't do it for the regular season.
The rest of the season.
I wonder, if they win their first round, do they do their surge thing?
If they're not doing it, we're
surge?
Breaking up. That's all I'm saying. So.
Yeah, I'll say I'm going to cheer for Columbus as long as it makes sense. Unless they play the Leafs, but Columbus to me is a fascinating team because of the high end talent that they have, and they're just squeaking in, but. This screams LA Kings 2000 and what was it, 2014? 2000. What year was it that it was 2000? No, it was 2014, wasn't it?
Oh, no, wait. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
The year
13 was Chicago.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, but they won twice. 12?
No, it was 11 and 14.
11 and 14.
Yeah.
The first year that 11 was Boston Bruins.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was 12. It was 12 because it was the lockout year. Right? No, 2011. 12 wasn't the lockout year. No, they did win in 2012, and that was
12 and 14. Yeah.
Yes, 12 was when they were the eighth place team. They barely made the playoffs, and then they just didn't allow a goal,
right?
Ever. So I mean, I think Columbus does. If a team could be compared to that, it is the Blue Jackets right now. It's a team that barely squeaked into the playoffs. They're only making it by a couple points, and now they might have to play the best team.
I mean, that's Colorado too. They just squeaked in.
Yeah, but Colorado isn't a team that scares. I mean, you look at Colorado. Colorado's bad. I mean, Colorado's only won 36 games in regulation.
We don't even know the real health of.
They haven't won half their games.
No,
but in their last 10, they're 8-0-2. They haven't lost.
Yes, they went on a nice run.
Grubauer
Absolutely.
went on a nice run.
Right.
So,
but they lost 14 games in overtime. This team's record, they're 38 and 43. They're not good. Like no one in the Western. I mean, there's so many teams not in the Western Conference that aren't good, but they are the only playoff team under 500, and frankly, they're the only playoff team close to under 500. Everyone else is at least 3 or 4 or 5 games above 500, and they're 4 games under 500, which is just a disgrace that that the West is just so weak that's happening. But it'll be interesting. Okay, well, any other girlfriend teams that you want to throw out there? Anybody else that you're going to be rooting for?
I mean, I know I picked Vegas Knights. So I'm not going to say San Jose, but I think about Joe T. And
I would have said them had they had good goaltending this year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I want Joe Thornton to win a cup. I mean, it'd be great to see. It'd be great to cap off his career.
Yeah, it'd be. Yeah, well,
I don't think he's done after this year either.
What's that?
I don't think he's done after this year, anyways.
Yeah, if it'll be. Does Erik Karlsson re-sign in San Jose?
Ugh, that's rough.
Because he might not. I mean, there really hasn't been anything out there.
It's a real possibility, but I think they're prepared to offer up to, I would say, probably like $13 million a year for him. So we'll see.
For like 8 years?
Yeah, but it might come down.
I think he's going to want to go to UFA and just see what his options are. Why wouldn't you, though?
I mean,
go to freaking Tampa Bay.
Holy crap.
If there was no salary cap, yes. I mean, I could see him, if he, depending on the life that he wants to live, I could see him going and signing with like the New York Islanders. I could see him signing. Yeah, there's a lot of options out there.
Everyone's going to Florida this year.
Lou Lamoriello. Oh yeah, right, Florida. Yeah, we'll see if Panarin and Bobrovsky end up there. If they go and they win a cup this year, though, do you really think they're just going to leave? I don't think they will.
If they win a cup, maybe not.
I think they would still leave. I think at least Panarin would leave.
Or he'd be like, cool, thanks for the cup.
Yeah.
He could do that, yeah.
Thanks a lot.
I mean,
I'll send you some
Panarin
bread.
is for sure wanting that hot weather.
His nickname is Bread Man. If you didn't pick him up. Yes. Okay, well, we'll say goodbye to the girlfriends. Oh, Derek, who's your girlfriend team?
My girlfriend team would probably be Nashville.
All right. Why?
Honestly, I think they're due, and I'm a big fan of PK Subban, so I think he's just a big presence to their winning ways.
Dude, you're pandering right now.
Pandering, yes.
They're fun to watch for sure.
I respect that choice, but
For whatever reason,
their offense worries me a little bit.
Yeah, they aren't fun to watch. Like they were. It's the crowd's really fun. I guess. Well, we did that player poll, and I think they were second place for the best arena to play in.
Yeah, they were up there.
Is that
I remember
Bridgestone?
that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of my buddies I text with here and there. He has the season tickets there, and he just loves it. He raves about how fun the chants are and like all the things the crowd does, which is cool. And so that's the kind of stuff you like to see in the playoffs. It'll be interesting, like a Nashville Dallas or Nashville Colorado first round. I mean, it'd be kind of fun. The little rematch if we could get Nashville Dallas in there.
Ooh.
And get a little rematch of that. But let's shift and talk the two playoff series that we are 100% sure about. And then our next show we'll talk about the other 6. But let's make this let's make this nice. We'll just go Boston, Toronto.
Dude, you want to start off with your team first? Okay.
Yeah, let's just get it out of the way because I know Luke has a lot to say. And
yeah, sure do.
sure do. So Boston and Toronto, this has been. I don't even think it's not even worth going. All right, let's look at the games that they've played this year because when Toronto was earlier in the year,
4-0 last year against Boston, and then they lost.
Right. Well, and Boston
7.
at different points in the year they had like 5 defensemen hurt. The only guy they had at their starting lineup was Grzelcyk. And so it's kind of hard to rate them, and they really haven't played each other in a minute where the game really mattered. And so it's hard to tell based off the way that they play against each other, other than what we've seen in the playoffs in the past. And so, like, what are you guys looking for as, let's say, if Boston is going to win, what do they have to do to beat Toronto?
Slow them down. I think that front core of forwards, man, if they can find a way to slow them down and so Boston's defense, to me, they can go, they have 2 solid defensive lines that they can roll out against either Austin Matthews and, John Tavares. So they don't have to be like, okay, we have 2 guys that we really need to make sure that we need to watch, right? Against, like, for instance, when you're playing Boston, right, you have to watch that top line, right? Bergeron, Marchand, you have to put your top defensive pairing against them. Whereas, Toronto, their forward group, you kind of have to, pick which one you're going to put Chara against and then hope your second line does good against the other one. So to me, I think it's finding a way to slow Toronto's forward group down a little bit if you're Boston, if you want success.
And I think a part of that is just the wear and tear of their bodies, right? Is Marchand plays a gritty game, and Chara can kind of shove those guys around a lot too. And so I think that it's just about wearing Toronto down, and yeah.
It'll be interesting to see, too, with the speed aspect of it, because last year we did see Chara get burned quite a bit by Toronto's forwards group. So, is he going to stay a little bit further back? Is he going to rely on McAvoy a little bit more to handle those speedsters up front? So I'm interested to see how that plays out with him being, because he's not any faster this year, in my opinion, but I think he knows that he's slowing down. I think he's kind of played his game a little bit more towards his slowness.
Yeah. If Boston's going to be Toronto, it's going to be goaltending to me. I mean, that top line, of course, every team is a top line. And if that line isn't going, it's for most teams, it's going to be a much tougher road. So, yes, of course, if I'm talking from the Toronto side, I just go shut down that top line and we're in business. But no one has been able to shut down that top line for the last 2 years. So even Tampa Bay playing them last year in the playoffs, they didn't necessarily shut that line down. They just were able to outscore them and they shut down everybody else. And so to me, for Boston to win, it's still about goaltending because Tuukka Rask, he hasn't looked great, but he's been playing better. And Yaroslav Halak is good. He's played well, but to me, neither of those guys scare me. And so can you get into a position, if you're the Leafs, to chase a goalie or to force Boston to make decisions as to who they're going to play. That to me is where the Leafs are going to have to be. You'll know if the talk is, oh, should Boston switch to Halak? Should Boston switch to Rask? Depending on who they, my guess is that they start with Rask.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're starting with Rask, but to me, I think Boston or Toronto, their starting goaltending is a wash. I think they're even on for me.
Really,
on
you
both
really
sides.
think that Rask is even with Frederick Anderson?
I do right now.
No,
Yeah, I do.
No,
I might give a slight
in
edge
these
to
last
Anderson.
15 games that mean nothing. You think that Anderson is just like he all of a sudden forgot how to play goal?
No, I don't think. But I might give just a slight edge to Anderson if I had to pick one.
A slight edge,
but just only a slight. Yes. Now the difference is when it comes to say Anderson gets chased for a game or two in those first couple games. What's going to happen with the situation? They have to ride Anderson out. You can't put Hutchinson in.
No, never putting Hutchinson.
I mean, at least Boston has that option to go to Halak, and you can say, okay, great. We have a reliable backup that we know can go in there and steal a playoff series because he did it in Montreal.
Yeah, he did it 9 years ago.
Well,
where were you 9 years ago, Justin?
Mike Smith did something, 5 years ago with
How
Arizona.
old were you 9 years ago? You were like,
we're not
what,
talking about that.
30 or 20.
Please don't say 30.
Sorry, you're not 40. I'm sorry. You were what, 20?
23.
23.
No, wait, 25. I'm sorry. Math is hard.
You were 25. So 25 years old 9 years ago. And could you have done what you did 9 years ago today?
Well, no, of course not, because I don't take care of my body the way they do. So,
well, I still contest that saying that. Oh well, he did it 9 years ago, so he can do it again today. Halak
I can't
is
even
not
run
that goalie,
so.
Right? Well, you should stop falling off slides. I should stop falling off ladders and jumping on trampolines. And this is the show for broken people. Luke, you can play hockey still. Derek runs marathon. Derek just ran the Boston Marathon last year, so I mean, screw all of us. It's but I think as the Leafs, it's going to come down to can they beat this goaltending, which I think they can, but then you just need to figure out, all right, if they can shut down Tavares, if they can shut down Matthews, who else is going to score? It's got to be that Kadri, Nylander, that combination has to do something. Or maybe that fourth line where I think Toronto maybe has the edge on depth at forward. That depth has to finally peer its head for the Leafs to win. They can't.
Yeah, they got to start putting them in. I feel like they've gotten a lot of chances, especially from behind the net. They come out and they get great chances putting the puck on the net, but I feel like they've failed to put the puck in the net several times, and it's I agree with you that I think that
we can't put the puck in the net every time.
No, I agree, obviously, but I think like Tyler Ennis. I mean, that guy's so skilled. I feel like he's
with a guy like that on your fourth line.
Yeah,
I mean, if this was 5 years ago, we'd go, dang, the Leafs have he's unreal, and I mean, he still obviously has some of that skill left in him. He just had some down years. He got really banged up and hurt, and so I mean, yeah, he's that guy where they gave him a shot and he's doing really well, and so he's definitely padding that fourth line. Now, here's the question. Let's talk last year. Okay, the Leafs are playing the Bruins, and I think everyone gave the Leafs it was pretty split on who people thought would win. Right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
Who did the Leafs have last year that they don't have this year?
Tyler Bozak.
Okay,
Yeah.
Tyler
James Van
JVR.
Riemsdyk.
Tyler Bozak, James Van Riemsdyk.
And Komarov.
Okay. Now we fast forward to this year. The Leafs have John fucking Tavares. Kasperi Kapanen is a 20-plus goal scorer. Andreas Janssen is playing on the first line, and he's scoring 20 goals.
I don't think there's
he's
any
like borderline, like one of the top 5 rookies in the NHL. They have the exact same defense.
Well,
They have the exact same defense.
Muzzin.
Plus Muzzin.
Yeah.
Plus Muzzin, who actually has been fantastic.
He's been better lately. He's been much better.
Who cares? The first 10 games, the guy played for the same team for his whole career, and then he comes over and he plays 5 games, and people say, oh, he's playing bad. No, he just doesn't. He needs a minute.
Time. You need
Well, that's
time.
Toronto
His possession
market right
numbers
there.
have been phenomenal.
Yeah,
and
he's
they
been good.
always have been. He's
But-
great. So you're saying the Leafs added Muzzin, Tavares, Kapanen, Ennis, like these guys that are filling out the line, and they lost what? They lost Bozak.
JVR.
Oh no.
JVR
Okay.
is a big loss for them in front of the net.
Yes,
but,
Tavares
Tavares has replaced
more
that,
than
for
makes
sure.
up for that.
Yeah.
Would you rather have Kasperi Kapanen or Tyler Bozak?
Kasperi
Okay,
Kapanen.
thank you.
Come on. That's not a question.
So the Leafs are
That's a dumb
far. And then Muzzin. Would we rather have Muzzin or Marinson? Oh yeah, we want Jake Muzzin, right? Okay, so the Leafs are way better than they were last year, but somehow the chances of them beating Boston are next to nothing. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I don't think it's like nothing. I do think Muzzin is going to, if anybody, is going to be the difference for this team. I think more than John Tavares, in my opinion, because I think, that top line, right? For those who don't know, when you have home ice advantage, you get to make the last change. And so I think Boston trying to find ways to get, Bergeron and Marchand out there where, maybe they don't have to face Riley or Hainsey, right? So now Muzzin becomes that difference maker in my book where he's got to shut those guys down a little bit. And if he can slow them down, I don't think Riley or even, that last, maybe the third pairing with Gardner on it. I don't know how they're going to.
Dermott,
Yeah, Dermott, whatever they do. Well, I don't think they'll have a problem going up against Krejci or, Johansson, Coyle, whatever line I think they can handle that. So it's going to be interesting, though. But to me, I think Muzzin is more of a difference maker to me this year than Tavares may be.
Well, I don't know about that. Tavares almost 50 goals.
Well, okay, so you take I'm not disagreeing with the goal scoring, but I do think that because of
And he's a center.
well, yeah, that's all well and
Who
down.
wins
But
the majority of his, more often than not, in the faceoff circle.
sure, yeah, absolutely. But I think with Nylander sort of having a down year compared to last year, I think Tavares makes up for that in the loss of JVR, but that to me almost becomes a little bit of a wash at that point.
Isn't Nylander on pace for a 60-point season?
Almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a terrible season he's had.
Yeah, that's a horrible
That's
season.
how many points he
Just-
had last season.
I know, but he
Yeah.
should be. He needs to pick it up, in my opinion. He should be playing better.
He plays on the third line. There's
I
so
don't
many
care where he
freaking good
plays.
players on this team that he doesn't. He gets 15 minutes a night. Yeah, he's not getting 20 minutes a night. So okay. I'll say this. All that to be said, all of a sudden the Leafs went from they have a great chance to beat Boston, like it's a 50-50 chance, and then they add all these awesome play. Like if you said at the beginning of the year, all right, we're gonna add John Tavares, Jake Muzzin. You're going to get a guy who last year he had like 8 goals, and he's going to be he's going to become your 20, 25 goal scorer perennial. And then you're going to add another guy like that too. We would be like, wow, the Leafs are definitely going to beat Boston next year then. But now we're like, oh boy, I don't know. Like I've heard people say, Boston's going to sweep the Leafs. It's not even going to be
I
close.
still think it's a coin flip. Still in my book.
Okay, and that's at least a fair spot to end up. But I think the Leafs are going to win in 5.
5 or
Five.
6. Bold.
I
That is
said
bold.
6. I said 6 when we in our
Yeah,
family
yeah.
chat. I'll stick with my 6, and I'll tell you exactly how it's going to go. Toronto's going to win game 1. Boston's going to win game 2. The Leafs are going to win both games in Toronto, and then Boston's going to take game 5 in Boston, and the Leafs will win game 6. That's how it's going to go.
Wow.
I just think that going back to the goaltending, I agree with Justin that Frederik Andersen he's been okay lately, and if he keeps playing the way he does, what's that?
Games mean nothing. These games are absolutely meaningless to everyone.
But I mean, it gives your team confidence going into the playoffs when you're playing well. And if you're not, then those guys on forward, they're worried about their goaltending, goals getting put in. And
Last game of the regular season, I know this is a long time ago, 2001, or maybe it was 2002. Last game of the regular season, the Ottawa Senators beat the Leafs 6-0. And they had beaten the Leafs 6 times that year, and they destroyed them. Only one of the games went to overtime out of those 6. The Leafs swept the Ottawa Senators in the playoffs that year. So nobody was worried about goaltending come the playoffs because they knew that team could get it done in the playoffs because when it mattered, and that's the difference, is that this team has John Tavares. Granted, Tavares didn't get very many opportunities at the playoffs, but when he did make the playoffs, he was a difference maker. He scored a game-winning goal in Game 7 in overtime. I mean, the guy knows how to get it done. and he is going to be the difference maker this year compared to last year. All of a sudden, there's John Tavares, and that is the reason that the Leafs will see Tampa Bay in round 2.
He does know how to get it done. I will give you that. However, Freddie Anderson, going back his stats last year, .896 save percentage, 3.76 goals against. Year before that, .915, 2.68, just mediocre stats as far as playoff stuff's concerned. Now, this year on paper, you could say that Toronto's D is better, but the way from an eye test, they haven't looked as good as they did last year, in my opinion. And again, that's just the eye test. I mean, you might look at it, advanced statistics, and it might prove me wrong otherwise, but just looking at it from what I've seen this year, their D does not look as good as it did last year. So Freddie Anderson might see some more shots.
Because Gardner's been hurt the last 15
sure,
games.
Sure, and that definitely comes into play for it. But what happens come playoff time if those guys do get hurt? Boston, if they lose... McAvoy or
they're
Krug,
in huge trouble.
Oh, they'll be in trouble, but they're not in as much trouble as if Toronto lost Gardner or Morgan Riley.
Yes, but but on the flip side, if Toronto loses Nylander, they're fine. If Toronto loses, even if Toronto loses Tavares, they could figure it out.
Absolutely.
But if Boston loses Bergeron, they're in trouble. Or Boston loses Marchand, they're in trouble.
No Nash to come play center for you.
Yes, year. Exactly.
Oh, jeez.
Any final, Luke? What's your prediction for this series? We're gonna move on. We're gonna go.
All right, you're not gonna like this, but I have Boston in 5.
5
games. I just feel like they're just gonna wear them down, break them down,
and you're willing to put money on that?
No, but yeah.
Okay, it is gonna be physical, and I think Boston has the edge there. But to me, it's still a coin flip. But I have to go Boston in 7.
Okay, I'm going Leafs in 6. Okay, Derek, any thoughts? Any random prediction there?
Leafs in 7.
Oh, yeah, that's what I like to hear. There we go. Even it up. Derek evens it up. Okay, let's talk San Jose, Vegas. This is the last one we're going to talk. It's the only one left that we know of, and then we'll cover the other 6 series on our next show. San Jose will have home ice advantage, and once again, this is a rematch of last year's second round. Is the result any different for San Jose?
No.
Nope.
All right, that's a good show.
I think I'm interested to see how Karlsson affects this series. He's coming back. I don't think he's 100% healthy, but he's coming back because he has to come back, right? You have to show up for the playoffs. That's why they brought him in here. And I think if he's able to play, he's going to go, but he won't be 100%. So how much of a difference can he really make? Because I do think, at least the first couple of games, they'll shelter his minutes a little bit. Maybe not put him out there for 25, 27, but he might see 21 minutes a game. But, he's not. And to me, it's even more dangerous this time for Vegas because now instead of rolling out the Karlsson line, right, they can roll out Stasny and Stone and Pacioretty and destroy you there too. So now it's even more dangerous to where you have to really pick who, like Drew Doughty said, Burnsy's going to turn the puck over a few times. So, what line do you want to throw out against him? So it should be interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely it's goaltending here. Can San Jose figure it out?
And you're not putting in Arundel. You're never going Arundel. Fleury's back.
Yeah,
Fleury is back.
He's back.
Fleury's back.
Because they were resting him for a little bit, right?
They did on purpose. Yeah, they just gave him a few extras because they knew there was no way they were getting second. They're going to finish third.
They'll play Fleury tonight against the Kings because you don't want them to go over a week without starting.
Right.
So they'll play. I think most playoff teams are actually they're starting. You'll see tonight, whoever teams play is likely who the starter will be, unless tonight's a back-to-back for a team. Then it's up in the air. To me, this series is going to come down to goaltending. And, of course, Vegas does have the edge in terms of the season stats. And we know that Marc-Andre Fleury tends to show up very well in the playoffs.
Very well.
But can Vegas score? I mean, that's going to be another huge question. I mean, outside
you have Alex Tuck on your third line. They can score. I don't think that's going to be too big of an issue in my book.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to have the puck as often as we think. I mean, San Jose is going to try and control the play, and they've been very good in terms of possession and in terms of just being able to fend teams off. And they have also scored a ton of goals. I think San Jose has the second most goals next to Calgary. I mean, Calgary scored a ton of goals. San Jose is just 4 behind them. So I mean, it's going to be San Jose has the third most goals out of any playoff team. So maybe, just maybe, San Jose can score enough goals on Marc-Andre Fleury. But this series to me, we're saying you guys are saying it's Vegas. No, they're going to wreck them again. I think this is a 7-game series. I think this series is going to be tight. Maybe not in terms of the goal. We could see 6-5 games, but San Jose, I think they realize they're at this point where what do we have this year? Maybe next year, but this is probably your best chance to win. The West is bad. Vegas can be good, but can San Jose beat Vegas? Absolutely. I mean, could San Jose beat Calgary? Sure. I don't think there's a team in the West that San Jose couldn't beat. I also don't see any team in the West any team that's in the playoff that, if we go Nashville, Winnipeg, Calgary, San Jose, Vegas, and throw them all into a pot, I don't know who's going to win the conference. I think it's one of those 5 teams. But, I mean, even Dallas. Could we see Dallas, like Ben Bishop, kind of stealing a series or two, and Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin going crazy for a minute, and Dallas squeaking by some big name teams, and
they could scare
suddenly
somebody.
Dallas is in the conference final? I think that the West is wide open, and it's why some of these teams went for it. It's why Vegas went and traded for Mark Stone, I think, because they knew they had the opportunity to win the West again. It's just going to be a matter of who can beat Tampa Bay, because I don't think anybody can. I really don't think anybody can. Okay, no more thoughts.
Yeah, no.
We ran out of thoughts.
Yeah,
Who's your pick? What's your pick for the series?
I got to go Vegas in 7.
Okay.
I do think it's going to be a little bit closer because, like you said, I think goal scoring is going to be pretty even though I do give the edge to Vegas. But I do think the addition of Nyquist and getting Carlson back a little bit is going to help increase the goal scoring for San Jose. But when it comes down to the tight, battles, the 2-1 games, the 3-2 games, you have to look at goaltending, and you got to give the edge to Vegas there.
Yeah, I'm going Vegas in 6.
Okay. I'm going to say San Jose here, and I'm going to say San Jose in 7. San Jose will win on home ice.
My heart wants San Jose to win because I'm with you. I think both Joes need a cup at some point in their career. I think that would be great, and it would be nice too for Erik Karlsson to have some success there, because then that might help convince him to stay, which I think would be great for this team.
San Jose wins the cup. Joe Pavelski
he's a free agent too, so
Joe Pavelski smiles with his picture with Gary Bettman and just says, "Joe, go ahead, like it's your cup."
Of
I'm
course.
not lifting it, right? Like that's absolutely what happens.
I think this is the Ray Bourque, Joe Sakic thing, with Colorado won it. So,
Luke, you said your team. I'm Derek.
Yep, Derek.
What's your pick for the series?
San Jose in 7.
Oh, there we go. Oh,
Another
he's evening
split.
it up. Oh, Derek, forever the peacemaker. Okay, that's our show. Find us on Twitter at OT Hockey Talk. Let us know what you thought of our predictions. Let us know who your girlfriend team is, and we will be back for the rest of the playoff preview